as the Twin Cities Metro will continue to grow, I think we are a desirable community, and at some point in time, we will be fully developed. And I think this is going to be a desirable community for a long period of time. So I think investing in real estate here is a valuable thing to do.
So Anne, thank
Hi.
you for joining me. I appreciate it. Anne, you've been the mayor of Woodbury since 2018, is that correct?
Well, I was elected in 2018, sworn in 2019.
Okay. Well, I've been a resident of Woodbury since 1989, believe it or not. Married my high school sweetheart from Woodbury High School.
Oh, I didn't know that
I've seen it
about you.
all. I remember riding my bike down a single lane Valley Creek Road down to Valley Creek Mall, and things have changed and evolved a lot. One of my best friends growing up, one of my best friends now, his father, as I was growing up, was Mayor Hargis. So I'm really good friends
So
with
you're friends with
Mark Hargis.
yeah.
Yep. So I've seen a lot of change in Woodbury in a good way. So one thing I want to ask right away. So if I just pretend I'm a relocation buyer, I'm moving to the Twin Cities. Why would I pick Woodbury as a community that I want to settle in?
That's a great question. Yeah. And I think I'll answer it this way. That's the same question I had when I moved here 19 years ago, because we were living in the Chicago suburbs. My husband got transferred, and back then I looked at the internet. Wasn't nearly as deluxe as it is now,
Right.
with as much information, but I was looking for our community similar to what we had come from, which was Naperville, Illinois,
Nice.
that has just a robust community with a lot going on, and bringing kids here. I had 3 kids in elementary school, 2 kids in elementary school, one is a preschooler, and looking for just a great place to raise a family. So safety was important, schools were important, open space, parks, trails. We didn't have trails in the Chicago suburbs, so that was a cool ad. And then opportunities for things to do. It was easy to get into St. Paul. We found, what a delight little downtown Hanson is, or going to Stillwater. And there were a lot of things that were offered right here in the city that we really enjoyed and appreciated. Sports opportunities, performing arts, what have you. Just a great place to raise a family.
And now that you've been here, you said 19 years?
19 years.
What's been, I guess, your favorite part of it? You've raised kids through the school system. What's been your favorite part?
Yeah, the favorite part is really just community. There's just so many ways to connect in this community, I think. And we are an active family. We got very involved in sports and performing arts, in clubs and activities, in volunteerism, in our faith community. And just, connected with people, and it's just been a great place to live. One of the things I loved as a active, busy mom is I can drive around all over Woodbury and get basically everything I need. It's when we first moved here, I think maybe there were 3 grocery stores. Now we've got like 9 or 10. Amazing. Lots of opportunities for food, beverage, what have you, shopping, running errands.
Yeah, when my kids were little, I remember telling relocation buyers, I'm like, gosh, sometimes I can go months without ever leaving Woodbury. It's
Right.
crazy to think about that. I mean,
Yeah.
we have everything from doctors to dentists to my kids' dance. I mean, they grew up with friends they started in kindergarten with at their little youth activities all the way through high school. Whereas some of these other communities, I think they get so spread out and scattered, you just don't have that kind of small community
right.
feel. And
Exactly.
I think you're right, and that's probably what brought us back. And my wife and I moved away for about 4 or 5 years, but we came back, and my kids are coming back, and it's just a great place to raise a family.
And I would agree. There's this new thing then also called 15-minute cities. So as we've come out of the pandemic and people are changing the way that they live and work and move around, having a city where you can do everything within a 15-minute radius has become kind of a thing. And I think Woodbury is one of those communities. I mean,
For sure.
you can live. You can live, work, thrive, play, whatever, meet friends, socialize, whatever you want to do. 15 minutes.
Get to the airport.
Town. And getting to the airport's another bonus,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. What prompted you to run for mayor, and 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah, well, again, being an active family and very busy, I also continued a part-time job as the whole time I was doing that, but I like to stay very involved. And again, community is important. So as my kids were growing up, I volunteered in all kinds of capacities. I was coaching. I taught faith formation. I was involved in the PTA. I was on the East Ridge Soccer Club board. My hardest job was being a team manager for a traveling soccer team, because he had to be a jack of all trades, including travel agent. But just involved in many, many things, just to create connection and community and make this a vibrant place to live. So I sought out opportunities to be involved in the city government as well. I've always been fascinated with local government. one reason I miss our local paper where I could read all the things going on about local government. But at the time, I just volunteered for a commission opportunity, and I sat on the Park and Rec Commission.
Oh, sure.
And then I moved to the Planning Commission for 3 years. As part of that, then I was asked to be on the 2040 Comprehensive Plan Task Force, which is our big planning document that we do, a 20-year lookout into the future as to what's the growth and development of Woodbury going to be like. And from that, I just thought, well, maybe my next step would be city council, until I learned our former mayor, Mary Giuliani Stevens, was choosing not to run for re-election. So I thought, well, I've got enough experience in city government. City council would be the next logical step, but now there's this opportunity to run for mayor. And I just thought, well, there's a point in my life where it's going to work. My youngest was going off to college. I had a little bit more time on my hands, and thought it would be dedicate my efforts in that direction.
Good. So you touched on what you call a 20-year?
20-year plan.
20-year plan.
Uh-huh.
Tell me a little bit about what that looks like. I mean, obviously it's probably a huge plan and undertaking, but give me some highlights of that, of what that looks like now in Woodbury for people that are moving here and new to Woodbury.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would encourage anybody to look it up if they want to see it. It is a large document that's got a lot of detail in it, but if people want to delve in and understand what is the growth of Woodbury going to be like, that's where they can find it. This is a requirement done by the Met Council that cities are required to do. We do it every 10 years, and it looks 20 years into the future. So as I said, I worked on the 2040 comprehensive plan, and we started that work in about 2017. So by the time you get done, it's about 2020, and then you're looking 20 years in advance. But it's really a land use plan as to what is the growth and development going to look like. And we in Woodbury have known for years, previous mayors, the vision has kind of been in our 36 square miles that we have, that we will be a fully developed community. So it is interesting that we get some people that have lived here now 5 years, and they get irritated that we've got growth going on in the south part of the community. Well, that's been planned for more than 20 years. Right. We've known that that's going to happen. But part of it is we've got to plan out where is residential, where is commercial, where do we have open space, and how does this all fit together in our community? So when people now, again, see housing going up, it's like, oh, why did that just happen there? Well, it didn't just happen. It's been planned for quite some time. I have to say that I'm proud of our community. Again, it's gone on for decades, that it's been planned and strategic development. This hasn't been haphazard. I also spent some time in Texas. I would say things there are a little more haphazard in the way they grow and develop, but at least in this community, it's been well thought out. I'll add that one of the things that when it comes to housing, because that's something that you're interested in, is that we have always also planned for a variety of housing types. Woodbury's wanted to be a welcoming community. We want to have housing available for people of all types, no matter your family status, your age, your income levels, what have you. So as you know, we've got apartments and townhouses and twin homes and large family homes and small, medium-sized single-family homes and everything in between. And now we've got, of course, senior housing as well, because people that have lived here most of their life have loved this community and want to stay. We have a lot of people who've adult children are here, and they've come from other places, and they want to move here because their adult children and grandchildren are here.
Speaking of housing, as long as we're on that subject, there's some misconceptions and I think some misunderstandings about, and forgive me if I use the term wrong, but income-based stuff that's going up in Woodbury. Can you touch on that a little bit and how that helps Woodbury, the positives and all that?
Well, yeah. So we've always had some income-restricted pieces and parcels around. Some have been Habitat for Humanity projects that have been done, and people don't even know where those are because they're built into a community and they look just like every other neighbor. We've had some housing that's gone in over in a City Walk area that was designed for more vulnerable adults that needed some income help as well. We've got some senior income, lower income housing or moderate income housing that's been brought in because we've got that need. And in addition, we've now got a project called Orville Commons, which is going in. It's right south of Jerry's.
Yep.
There's apartments, and it's close to, I'm not going to get the numbers exactly right, but it's like 200-unit apartment, 24-unit townhomes, and it's designed for workforce housing. So it's not, this is not super low income housing, public housing, as I think about when I lived in Chicago and there was a lot of public housing. This is housing for people that are going to work in our community. And as you know, we've got a lot of offerings for employment in our community. We've got a lot of retail, we've got a lot of office work, we've got baristas that work at Starbucks. people need a place to live, and they don't want to have to commute from somewhere else to be here. They'd like to also live and work in this community. I think too about my oldest daughter is a teacher, and when she started work in this, she doesn't work in this school district. She moved out west, but as a new teacher coming in, it's difficult to afford some of these rents, and if you're going to buy a home, it's expensive. But living into this this brand new beautiful community coming in, that'd be a great place for a teacher and many other people with various lifestyles and whatever their occupation is, but very affordable housing.
You touched on employment and working in the community. Who's the largest employer in Woodbury?
The largest employer in Woodbury is District 833, South Washington County Schools.
Okay, besides them.
Besides them, I'd have to start thinking about it. But, we've got some interesting headquarters.
A few anyway.
Here.
Yeah.
Anytime Fitness,
Sure.
Self-Esteem Brands is
Sure.
a large employer.
Okay.
The city of Woodbury is a large employer. Then we've got a lot of medical practices. Alina Clinic's got a large clinic.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you see happening for you and that you're going to face here in the upcoming years in your...
Well, I have to say, just up front, one of the largest challenges we're going to have is building this water infrastructure that we're going to be bringing into the community. We've got, right now our water, that there is some PFAS in our water, and it's important for people to know that. It's also important for people to know that we are removing that PFAS from our water wells through a temporary treatment plant that got built a few years ago. We are anticipating that some wells might start ticking up in their level of PFAS, so we've got additional temporary treatment going in for 3 additional wells. But to handle the long-term problem of this, which is going to, serve us for the next century, 100 years or so, is to build a permanent treatment plant that's going to be, we've already purchased the land. And again, all this is happening through money that came from the settlement of 3M with the state of Minnesota.
Right.
So the money is going to come our direction, and it's taken, I guess just one frustration for me is it's taken such time to get this worked through, but it's a very complex process. The settlement money went to the state of Minnesota. 2 co-trustees hold that money, the DNR and the MPCA, and they have to determine how to distribute this large fund of money, $850 million, to the 14 communities here in the East Metro that are impacted by it. So getting to the long story short, or the long story longer, we will be building a permanent treatment plant that will serve the wells. All the wells from our entire city are going to have to move from the 19 wells around, building another one, 20, almost 21 wells, have to move from all their locations around the city and move into a central water treatment plant where the PFAS will be removed through a filtration system and then redistributed out to the community. So we are going to be having to run 14 miles of 36-inch pipe.
Wow.
From the wells to the treatment facility and back out to the community. So it's going to be the largest public works project we've ever done, and it's going to take the next, we're in 2023 now. It will be done in 4 or 5 years. It's going to take that long to do this construction. So
where's that treatment facility located?
The treatment facility, the piece of land is just south of East Ridge High School, and just south of Hargis Parkway.
Okay.
There's a plot of land. The entrance to that will come off of Radio Drive.
Okay, so there's a housing community there.
Yes.
And, there's kind
right.
of some
There's a housing community
open space
going in. There's some
Interesting.
townhomes.
Okay.
Right, and then
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you said that's about a 4-year project?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was actually one of my questions. It's probably one of the hottest topics and one of the biggest, I guess, red flags buyers will reach out to me, right? I mean, Lake Elmo, I live in Lake Elmo now. I've moved from Woodbury to Lake Elmo when my kids graduated high school. Lake Elmo's having the same problem, and they're they even put moratoriums on building, if I recall,
They did. Yes.
because they couldn't keep up with water. Now they're adding
Right.
wells. And,
Yes.
Everybody sees they Google it, and the first thing that comes up is KARE 11 news stories or whatever
Right.
about PFAS. And
Yeah.
I think the reality is you guys have been way ahead of this
Exactly.
before this has all ever happened. So I'm safe to say that the water in Woodbury is safe to drink.
We ensure, and we are required because we're a public water supplier, that we meet all state guidelines for the safety of our water, and we are doing that now. And that is our plan until this treatment plant comes up, the permanent one. In the meantime, we've got temporary treatment. And
Right.
if you looked at it, you would think it looks pretty darn permanent. I mean, it isn't like it's made out of, plastic, it's made out of some plastic, but it's a functioning, working treatment plant. So we continue to deliver water to our community that meets the Safe Drinking Water Act requirements. and any other requirements that the state imposes on us.
I grew up here drinking out of a garden hose, and I'm still doing okay. So, but it is definitely a hot topic, and it's like, I mean, look, and radon became a hot topic in 2005, 2006 in housing. So, I mean, I think every year as studies evolve on causes of certain cancers or whatever that might be, there's certain things that we can do to help prevent some of those, and water's just one of them right now.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Do you follow the housing market closely in Woodbury? I mean, are you?
I follow Redfin and Zillow and just, get some hints of what's happening with, different communities and neighborhoods around. It's just kind of interesting to watch what's happening in the housing market. Sure.
Do you have any insight on just your opinion of the housing market in Woodbury, where it's going? We all have our own opinions. I don't think anybody's a crystal ball, but I mean, are the builders still just as aggressively pulling permits to build? What are you seeing?
Yeah, right now they are. Even though mortgage rates have gone up a bit, we've got a plan in place, and so we opened up another phase of another development just recently, and the builders are still coming and want to build. What's been interesting is to see some of these communities that have gone in that have done single-family rental housing.
It is, yeah.
That's been an interesting, and there's a new development happening right now at the southeast corner of Dale and Woodbury Drive. That will be our third single-family rental property. I find that fascinating. Whether people, I don't know if they don't want to get into a mortgage and a whole situation, or if they're here for a short period of time, or maybe they're building a home somewhere and they want to live there until their home is built. But that's become popular. Again, as I said before, we do offer a variety of housing for people. So there's those people that want to live in an apartment, and we've got some nice new fun apartments to live in for young people or any people, transitioning people, to live in. But in terms of one of the things I watch are single-family home pricing. So it's just interesting to see what's happening there. And I'd say we were at a peak a while ago. It went down. I think we're back at a peak again. It's kind of interesting to see where these housing prices are going. I think, too, when you think overall, as the Twin Cities Metro will continue to grow, I think we are a desirable community. And at some point in time, we will be fully developed. And I think this is going to be a desirable community for a long period of time. So I think investing in real estate here is a valuable thing to do. My husband and I did that recently. We grew up and raised our family in a lovely home, had an opportunity to move, and in 4 years, that's gone up 30%. So we're pleased with that.
Pretty good.
We thought it was a good investment.
Great investment.
Yeah.
You'd said fully developed. In how many years?
Well, by 2040, we believe we're going to be about fully developed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Is that faster than what was originally anticipated, or is that about what they had planned out?
No, I don't think so. There are some people that think, wow, that seems fast, but no, it has been a strategic, steady growth plan, and we've created the plan. Again, this plan is done every 10 years, and it looks 20 years out, so it's happened 3 or 4 or 5 times now, and you just keep moving another decade forward. And we are growing at the way we thought we'd be growing. We're exactly following the plan.
Oh, that's good to know. Because a lot of people are just, like you said, think Woodbury's growing like a wildfire. It's crazy what's happening, but that's what was planned.
Right.
At one time, we had the second most building permits of any city in the Metro. Is that still the case?
Right. I had heard recently that Lake Elmo now has got the more building permits. I don't know if that's the case, or Lakeville is growing as well, but Woodbury continues to grow.
Yeah, we're still in one of those top 2 or 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And as that continues to grow, and I don't know how much insight you have, or you're willing to share, what do you see happening with schools? That's a hot topic I see, right? Boundary changes, adding on to schools, building new schools. What can you touch on there?
Well, I think, there's it's important for people in the public to know that the school district does not report into the city. Some people, in some communities, and there's places, I think in the city of Chicago, they all report in, that the school district reports to the mayor. That does not happen here. They are their own government and funded entity, and they do have their own challenges with the way things are funded. If you follow the legislature this year, they've enacted some things that are going to help the funding of schools. But I don't mean to say it's their problem, but to a certain extent it is. We in the city, we've got to pull in revenue sources for doing the things we do. They need to pull their revenue sources together. So But we do work cooperatively. You know, the city of Woodbury is served by three public school districts, and we have meetings with all of them on a regular basis throughout the year to talk about growth and development and what's happening. They are privy to our 2040 comprehensive plan and all the plans we do. One of the reasons those plans are done is to share with surrounding communities where the growth is, with the school districts. The county needs to know what's happening. We all know where the growth is coming from. And so the school district's very aware of that. But they too have challenges with how do they adjust for the growth in different areas. It's my understanding, and by the way, District 833 is the school district that serves the largest portion of our community, that they feel overall that, school capacity is about at 91%. But the challenge comes in that there's schools in areas where there is no growth, and then there's no schools in areas where there's a lot of growth. Right. So that causes the need to look at, do we do boundary changes? Where do we add on? Where do we add on into our school district? Do the high schools look like they're going to need some expansion, and how do they do that? So I give them a lot of credit. The last referendum did not pass. You're probably aware of that. Yep. And they've been working very hard to better understand what are the needs of the community, what are our residents saying, what exactly are the specific needs for more of a shorter term focus. And, they're working together with a plan right now. I think on the 15th it's going to the school board for approval, which they're then going to take to the referendum in November. So eager to see how all that works out, but I think it's a more of a scaled down plan than they had originally, and something that's going to be a little more palatable to the taxpayers.
Yeah, no, the challenge for me is, it's, in my opinion, I think in most homeowners' opinions, it's inevitable that they're going to have to move the boundaries. They're just, all the new growth is Eastridge, and all the existing homes are in Woodbury, and it's just, it's pretty black and white. So the challenge becomes trying to predict the future, and people buying a home now with the understanding that they're going to be in one school that could potentially switch. So that's been challenging. Yeah,
I'll share my experience on all that. Number one, all school districts that we have in this community are great school districts. Absolutely. And every school is excellent. We moved during that growth phase in the early 2000s. We moved originally in 2004. A lot of growth. You saw Bailey's Arbor, Stonewall Farms, Dancing Waters, explosive growth going on. And because of that, there was a lot of boundary changes. So my kids started at Bailey Elementary, which at the time, Bailey's Arbor to Bailey Elementary was like 4-mile drive through a cornfield. And, you seem like that's forever away. But wow, what a great experience we had with that school. And then due to some changes, I needed to move my kids to a different environment. So we went to Valley Crossing 2 years later. Great. My son moved on from there, moved my daughter then to Liberty Ridge. So these kids move and adjust pretty easy. I know there's always a lot of fear and concern about changing, but you get to know kids all over. And then if you're playing sports, or if you're doing dance, or whatever your extracurricular activity is, be amazed at how you connect with these people everywhere you go. It's what's allowed me to get to know a lot of the community, because we've been all over. Yeah. I'll even share another piece. My daughter went through that when Eastridge was being built. She went to Bailey Elementary, then she went to Lake, and then she went to Woodbury High School for a year, and then ended up at Eastridge. So the kids make friends, they adjust. Yeah. They're resilient. They really are. Yeah. So,
no, I agree. Any insider information you can give me on anything, and maybe that the public isn't aware of right now, of commercial stuff going up? Like, for instance, I know a lot of people want to see some sort of grocery store hub happen where that new development's going on down there. Is anything going to happen there? Anything that's exciting within the world of commercial that is happening?
Well, there's always something happening. The little one I heard the other day, and I know a lot of people love this, we're going to get Chick-fil-A East.
No way.
So how long did it take for us to get one on the west?
Wow.
And people were begging for that for years.
Or can you share?
To my understanding, it's going to go it's off of Norma Drive, where the Burger King was. That's going to go in there. That's what I just learned.
Wow.
I'm understanding we're getting a crepe restaurant of some sort.
Okay.
We've almost opened where Famous Dave's used to be. We now got a Starbucks there. There's a new Spitz Mediterranean going in. It should be opening soon. We just gave them a liquor license. There's a Yum restaurant coming in. If you're familiar with Yum, they're on the west side. Yum with an exclamation point is going in by the Punch Pizza area. There used to be a Asian Chinese restaurant. It's going in the middle there. Okay. So people are always wondering about food and beverage. What's coming for that? So those are some exciting changes
more franchise foods
coming our way. Yes. Yeah.
So one thing that I have to talk about because it has disrupted my drive to work every day is the light rail.
Yeah.
I used to take the frontage road there to get to work every day. Now I'm going around. It adds an extra 90 seconds for me to get to work.
Yeah.
So, but what's happening there? Where's that at? How does that look? When's that going to open? All that good stuff.
Yeah, and I'll just make one quick clarification because you called it a light rail.
Oh.
And there was thought at one point in time that be aware those projects are very, very expensive. Green line, blue line, they cost, 4 times more than what we're putting in, or it's not we. The Met Council and Ramsey County, Washington County. It's their funding source and with the federal government. So it's not a Woodbury project, but it's coming our way, transit. And it is a bus rapid transit system. So this system, there are other bus rapid transits in the metro area, but not one that's got a dedicated roadway, line. And that's what this one's going to have. So yeah, right out the door here on Bielenberg Drive. There's going to be, the road is being expanded. We're actually doing a sewer and water project while we're at it, while that's being torn up. But it is going to be a bus service that runs in its own dedicated lane from downtown St. Paul into Oakdale. We're going to build a new bridge from Oakdale across onto Bielenberg Drive here, right where the old home furniture was. It's going to be a new bridge.
Over the top of the interstate.
Yep.
Oh.
And then the light rail, the first stop is actually going to be almost right outside your door here.
Okay.
That's a drop-off walk-up station is what it's intended to be. The next spot is going to be down by the movie theater off of Guider Drive. Will be stop number 2 in Woodbury. And stop number 3 will be the end of the line, which is going to be essentially back behind Kohl's, where you currently go to that one red stop sign. And
sure. Yeah, it's kind of
it's going to be back in there. There's open land back there, and that's where the end of the line is going to be. A lot of this construction is happening in Woodbury. It's almost going to be completed by the end of this year and into early 2024. So you're living with this construction now, but the line's anticipated to open sometime in 2025.
How will that affect, I guess, traffic in the area? I mean, is that going to bring a lot more people, cars, how does that look? I don't know anything about it.
Right. Well, so first of all, when the line opens and the bridge opens, the bridge is going to be an additional for cars to get over. It will also have the ability for pedestrians to cross. But the bus just really takes up like one lane in the middle.
Okay.
So it's really intended to be able to help bring people to and from Woodbury that need transit of some type. The team that pulled all this together did a lot of survey work and found that we've got all these local employers that would love to have people being able to get here in some way besides a car. There's people that are transit dependent that work. Just met one yesterday that works in the building next door that really eager for this line to open. In addition, there are going to be people that might want to migrate out of here and move into other communities, whether it's Oakdale or Maplewood or what have you, or all the way into St. Paul on that line. So how is it going to affect traffic? I can't really, I don't know that I can say how it's going to affect traffic other than the expansion of Bielenberg Drive will help move more cars, which will be nice. Another way to get into Oakdale. And it's just an opportunity to bring people back and forth into our community. That
I'm sure was laid out pre-COVID. Has COVID changed the amount of people that ride that system? I don't know.
And that's right, and that's probably those are discussions and decisions beyond my pay grade that belong with the Met Transit and Met Council. I think it's for sure that we see that there's less people riding transit right now, but I think it's the belief that will grow over time. Transit exists in the cities and in the West Metro, and one thing that the East Metro did not want to be is without that same opportunity for growth and development. Transit brings people and jobs, and we don't want that shut out of the East Metro.
What's the leadership in Woodbury doing to make Woodbury a safer place?
Well, that's a very good question, and one for which I have an answer. The city staff does so much great work in our community, whether it's Public Works or Parks and Rec or the engineering team or whoever. They do a lot of great work. The city council every couple of years takes input as we do a community survey to find out what are some concerns in the community. And from that, we that and other sources of information, we develop some strategic initiatives. One of our strategic initiatives is safer community through connections and let's see, there's 3 C's. I'm not going to remember. Connections, communication, and culture. So we realize that, first of all, people do move here because we are a safe community. We're relatively very safe. But what do we need to do to continue along those lines? We've seen some challenges that have happened in the cities, the whole George Floyd situation, what's happening with policing. We realize that we've got to be ahead of the curve in understanding what does the community need. So we added last year a full-time social worker to our staff because some of the statistics coming in showed that a lot of the calls that police are doing are for mental health crisis calls. And rather than sending somebody in, that's fully armed and with it, and all that, they need someone to be able to respond in a different way. So we've got a social worker now working on the team, works in conjunction with our police to help those families and those people that might be in crisis and have needs. We also work very closely with various communities. We're becoming a more diverse city, as all the metro area is. And to work with those communities better to understand what their needs are. Our police go out and do coffees with them, or they do barbecues, just to make people feel comfortable around our police and what they're here to do. At the same time, crime does creep into our community as it does from around the metro. And so our police are using interesting new tactics to help understand where there might be some bad actors occurring. So, and I'll share this because it is available publicly. We now have automatic license plate readers in various places around the community. This has really been great because the public safety can then identify and know who is coming into our community and is there a reason for caution or not. So those license plate readers are only reading a license plate and to identify, is it a stolen vehicle or is it somebody that's got a felony or some issues? And then the police can then effectively mitigate any crime that might happen or get back up to go help ensure that the community stays safe.
Sure. You have there a couple of years ago. I interviewed for you guys. What do you call them? Like individuals like myself that can be a volunteer type. What do you call that?
Oh gosh,
I can't think of it, but I wasn't hired.
You weren't.
No,
my gosh.
No,
okay.
I don't know what it was, but I wasn't hired. I interviewed to be basically a volunteer cop. I don't know what you call it.
I feel like it's the VERT program.
Something like that.
Something like that. And I don't know what it all stands for, but yeah, it is. It works with our public safety department, whether it's the EMS, fire, or police, just to ensure that there's a team of people. If there ever were a crisis or a situation where a team of people would be needed to come in, they've got those community residents ready to step in and help in whatever way they can. I have a good friend who's an EMT, and she's on that team, and I ask, are you doing much? Well, not a lot, but there are meetings and things just to ensure if there ever were any type of a crisis that we've got a community of people ready to help.
Yeah, that was an interesting process, but I wasn't hired. I was turned down. I don't know if I lost the push-up challenge or what it was, but it just was not hired to be a volunteer cop. So.
Yeah. Can I add just one more thing in case people want to know about it?
Please
and that
do.
is we are going to be expanding our Central Park. So our Central Park is really our community gathering space. Really, it's it's tied together through the YMCA. The county's got a piece there. The school district does a lot of training and education of youth there, and some of their English language learners. The library's there, but that space that was built 20 years ago, and we have doubled in population since that time. So we have plans to expand that. Adding on a large community gathering place for it, creating more space for a community to gather inside. One of the questions we ask when people say we need to do something different, like what? They want more places to gather. If you ever go in there, a lot of the tables are full.
Right.
We're just going to add more room for more people to come and gather, and it's going to be an facelift to the whole facility. The Lookout Ridge is a very popular indoor playground. That's 20 years old. We're going to be sprucing that up, really redesigning that whole thing and making that available.
It's
for people.
20 years old already. I remember bringing my kids there.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
Crazy.
It's
And when will that roll out?
We are going to go out to bid later this year, start construction in 2024, and if I'm getting my dates right, probably by 2025.
Yeah, that's a great asset to the community.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
People love it. So.
Yeah. Great.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.